Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and I just spent the last hour listening to television, looking at the internet, looking at all the media sites coming out with how horrible was the execution of Marcellus Williams. They're saying he's innocent, or he's maybe innocent, that the government didn't do their job proving that he was guilty. Oh my God, they're saying he was lynched. He was lynched. His own son comes out and says those crackers did it. It has been very upsetting to listen to all of this garbage because the media is lying to you and the Innocence Project is lying to you. First of all, the Innocence Project doesn't care if people are innocent. All they care is that they can get them out, that they can stick it to the government. Now, they tend to focus on death penalty cases, but recently they've been taking some non-death penalty cases, but they don't care whether the person they're getting out is innocent. They care whether they can get them out on a technicality. And while there are issues that nobody should be found guilty wrongly, even if they are, the government should do their job. To get somebody out on a technicality and claim they're innocent is a lie. It's a straight up lie. And that's what they're doing with this case here. This guy stabbed her to death 43 times. Okay, I want to say this. If you're against the death penalty, I have no problem with that. If you're concerned about racism within the justice system, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with people coming forward and working to ameliorate some of the problems. And even if you want to get rid of the death penalty, I'm not objecting to your take on that. What I'm objecting to are the lies. This guy was found guilty by a jury. All his appeals failed for a good reason. He's guilty as hell of murdering this woman. And I'm going to read to you in just a little bit what the evidence is. But first, I want to say this. For all of you who are against the death penalty, there's one person that wasn't against the death penalty, and it was him. Do you know why? Because he did not have a problem with her getting the death penalty. It was in her home. She wasn't in a court of law. And he came in and murdered her, stabbed her 43 times. He gave her the death penalty. She was innocent. There was not one shred of evidence that said she deserved to be killed. He killed her without any evidence supporting that she deserved to die. She did not even get to go to trial. She did not get a jury. She did not get a judge. She did not get any appeals. She did not even get a needle that would put her to sleep nicely. She didn't get to talk to her family before she died. She didn't get a last meal. This woman, she got none of that. What her last views of this world was this man stabbing her to death. She was in agony. She was in pain. She was in terror. She knew she was going to die. Young woman like this, she was going to die and never see any of her family again. That's the death penalty he gave her. So while you're sitting here, oh, the death penalty is wrong. He didn't have a problem with it. He didn't, and he didn't care about the justice system because she got no justice. He just killed her because he felt like it. Because he was a burglar and she was home, and for whatever reasons, he not only stole her stuff, but he just stabbed her in the worst way possible, probably because he enjoyed it, because that dude's a psychopath. All right? You're shedding love. Oh, poor guy. Oh, it's so terrible. No, you're giving love to a psychopath who murdered this woman. And now I'm going to read you what happened. I'm going to tell you why he went to prison, why he was convicted, why he never wanted an appeal. And then I'll go over some of what they're saying now about, but what about the DNA? I'll get to that. All right. On August 11th, 1998, Marcellus Williams drove his grandfather's car to a bus stop and traveled by bus to University City, Missouri. Once in University City, Williams began looking for a house to burglarize because he's a burglar. This is not a school teacher who never did anything wrong in his life. The guy was a longtime criminal, and I will show you his record in a bit. Longtime criminal. he was looking for a house to burglarize and came upon the home of Felicia Gale. After knocking on the front door and receiving no answer, he knocked out a window pane near the door, reached in, unlocked the door, and entered Gale's home. Williams heard water running in the shower on the second floor. So he went into the kitchen and found a butcher knife and waited. All right here. Do you understand? He realized somebody was home. He had every opportunity to leave the home and not kill anybody. Just go to another home that was empty and burglarize it. But he realized somebody was there, and instead of leaving, he went and got the biggest butcher knife he could find so he could kill her. It was premeditated. He wanted to kill her. Gale finished her shower and went downstairs. Williams attacked Gale, stabbing and cutting her 43 times and inflicting 7 fatal wounds. Williams then washed Gale's blood from his body and concealed his bloody shirt with a jacket. He knew what he had done. He was aware of the law. He's not psychotic. He's a psychopath. And before leaving Gale's home, he took Gale's purse, which contained, among other things, a St. Louis Dispatch ruler and a calculator and her husband's laptop computer. Williams returned to the bus stop, retrieved his grandfather's car, and picked up his girlfriend, Laura Asaro. Now, mind you, I want to point this out. He drove his grandfather's car, got on a bus to go commit his crime and come back. Very premeditated crime. So he would not be linked to his car. The car wouldn't be in the neighborhood of the crime. That's very smart and very, very criminal. All right. He picked up his girlfriend, Laura Asaro. Asaro noted that Williams was wearing a jacket despite the summer heat. When Williams removed the jacket, Asaro noticed blood on his shirt and scratches on his neck. Asaro questioned him, and Williams claimed he had been in a fight. Asaro also saw a laptop computer in the car. Later that day, Williams put his bloody clothes in a backpack and threw them in a sewer drain. So he was getting rid of evidence. The next day, Asaro tried to retrieve some items from the trunk of Williams' car, but he tried to prevent her from opening it. Before he could push her away, Asaro grabbed Gale's purse from the trunk. Inside the purse, she found Gale's Missouri state identification card and a black coin purse. Asaro confronted Williams about the purse, and Williams confessed that he had killed Gale. This is his first confession. He explained in detail how he waited for her in the kitchen with a butcher knife, and then when she came downstairs, he stabbed her in the arm and neck, twisting the knife as he went. So this is information that his girlfriend knew that wasn't in the media. That's how the police knew she was telling the truth when she told the police later on. After confessing the details to Asaro, Williams grabbed her by the throat and threatened to kill her, her children, and her mother if she told anyone. On August 31st, 1998, this is 3 weeks later, Williams was arrested on unrelated charges and incarcerated at the St. Louis City Workhouse, where he shared a room with Henry Cole for a period of time. While watching television one evening, Cole and Williams saw a news report about Gale's murder. After the news report, Williams told Cole that he had committed the murder. Over the next few weeks, Williams and Cole had several conversations about the crime, during which Williams provided considerable details about the break-in and murder. Again, details that were never in the media. So when Cole told the police, they knew he was telling the truth. He confessed 2 times with details not in the media. After Cole was released from jail in June of 1999, he went to the University City Police and told them about Williams' involvement in Gale's murder. By the way, he was out of jail. He wasn't getting a deal for talking to them. It bothered him, and he went to the police. As a result of the information provided by Cole, University City Police contacted Asaro about the murder. Asaro told the police that Williams admitted to her that he had killed Gale. The police then searched Williams' grandfather's car, and they found Gale's post-dispatch ruler and calculator. He's smart at some things, but an idiot at others. He left evidence in his grandfather's car. How else is that evidence going to get in his grandfather's car that he drove unless he put it there? The police also recovered Gale's husband's laptop, which Williams had sold after the murder. So he went and sold this laptop, and the person identified him as the person who came and sold him the laptop. Now, his lawyers never argued that he was the one selling the laptop. Later on, they tried to claim that, his girlfriend somehow got a hold of the laptop. Like his girlfriend committed the crime, and he was only selling the laptop for his girlfriend. Get out of here. So even that kind of evidence. So far, we've got 2 confessions he gave to people, and information that they would not have known because it wasn't in the media. And we've got the police have now found in his grandfather's car items from the crime scene, and they have found that he sold the laptop to somebody, and that person identified him as the person who sold the laptop. This is a hell of a lot of evidence. If you don't think this is evidence, you're nuts. When you talk about circumstantial evidence, this is the kind of circumstantial evidence that gets you put away because it's irrefutable. There's so much of it. The totality of the circumstantial evidence is fabulous. You don't need physical evidence. You don't need DNA evidence when you got that much. Now, the state charged Williams with several offenses and sought the death penalty. He was tried and convicted of first-degree murder, first-degree burglary, first-degree robbery, and 2 counts of armed criminal action. All right. So the way his defense attorney tried to get him off was not on evidence. They tried to say he had a crappy childhood. He was sexually abused as a child. His IQ wasn't too great. And so the jury should let him get a life sentence as opposed to a death penalty. They did not argue that the evidence didn't convict him. All right. During the penalty phase, the state presented extensive evidence of Williams' criminal history. The jury heard testimony detailing a residential burglary in 1997, armed robberies of both a donut shop and Burger King in 1998, and a threat to kill a corrections officer at the St. Louis City Workhouse in 1999. The state also introduced certified copies of Williams' 16 convictions. 16 convictions. What are they? Second-degree burglary and stealing over 150 in 1998, second-degree assault in 1998, second-degree burglary in 1998, 2 counts of second-degree burglary and stealing over 150 in 1991, first-degree burglary, armed criminal action, unlawful use of a weapon in 2000, and a first-degree robbery, armed criminal action, stealing a motor vehicle, and 2 counts of false imprisonment in 2000. Lifetime criminal. Now, he had 16 convictions. Now, y'all know that people do not, when you have 16 convictions, you probably have more than 100 actual crimes. You don't get caught on every crime, and you don't get convicted on every crime a lot of times because they just can't prove it. They know you did it. They can't prove it. This guy was a 100% all the time criminal. And then he went and brutally murdered her. 43 stab wounds, took her life. Now, in the appeal process, they never argued the evidence because the evidence was very strong that he committed this crime. There wasn't really an issue about that. So time went on, and all the appeals failed because they were mostly appealing on stuff that wouldn't work. Now, fast forward to around now, and what you have is the Innocence Project and People Against the Death Penalty, which includes a present prosecutor who is probably vying for he wants to be popular with whomever, and he wants to keep his job and be the prosecutor. We have a lot of these progressive prosecutors these days who make it more political than actually anything to do with evidence. They like getting off people who once convicted. They like saying that the previous prosecutor sucked, and they're the ones that are righting the wrongs of the last DA in office. So the whole thing they're going on here is this DNA issue. What is the DNA issue? All right. So basically the DNA issue is this. The claim is that he's been excluded from the DNA on the knife. That's how he's an innocent guy. Now, he's not being excluded from the person who committed the crime. What happened was back 20 years ago when this happened, first of all, the knife was washed off. It was wiped off. His DNA was not on the knife. That is true. And in those days, it didn't have touch DNA either. So because he cleaned up after the crime, yes, there was not physical evidence of his DNA on the knife. He didn't get cut. I guess his blood wasn't there. I don't see there was a sexual homicide. So there's no semen at the scene. So it would have been touch DNA of some sort on the knife. And it wasn't there. What happened was they processed the knife, and later on, not then, later on, the prosecutor touched the knife. And so when they decided to go back and retest the knife, they came up with the previous prosecutor, the previous DA's DNA on the knife. It's meaningless. It's meaningless. It was touch DNA because he touched the knife. It had nothing to do with the actual time of the crime. It had nothing to do with the fact that his DNA wasn't on the knife. So this is all nonsense stuff. This is some technicality thing they're trying to throw out there to confuse people. Oh my God, see, his DNA wasn't there. But the DNA that was there was accounted for. So it's not like a stranger's DNA was there. Now, had they retested the knife and the DNA came up with a different burglar, a completely different burglar, then you'd have to say, whoa, wait a minute. How did this other burglar's DNA get on the knife? That would make you suspect that he wasn't the person who did it. But there's no other criminal's DNA on the knife. It's only was when it was handled by the DA. It later on, not at the time when they examined the knife. So this is all nonsense crap. Let me just read you what just to wrap it up. I want to read you what was said by just to go through just the basics again. All right. Here is what is true. DNA technology and testing before trial. This comes from a police site. I will link it below. DNA technology and testing before the trial did not examine touch DNA based on standard techniques and practices at the time. Additionally, subsequent DNA testing has never exonerated Williams. He wasn't exonerated. He was excluded from the DNA that belonged to the guy who touched the knife, but it has nothing to do with him being exonerated. Williams has a robust criminal history, which I just read to you, including 15 felony convictions, and I guess the other conviction made it 16, in addition to offenses related to Ms. Gale's murder. Two robberies, 2 armed criminal actions, 2 assaults, 4 burglaries, 3 stealing, 1 stealing of a motor vehicle, and an unlawful use of a weapon, which is all consistent with entering the home, attacking Ms. Gale, and taking her items. So the kind of crime that happened here was the kind of crime he did. Williams confessed the murder to his girlfriend soon after committing his horrific crime, and once his girlfriend found Gale's purse in Williams' car. But he also threatened to kill her and her family. She told anyone, readily explaining why his girlfriend did not approach law enforcement until he was in custody. The girlfriend never requested the reward for information about Ms. Gale's murder, despite claims she was only interested in the money. When speaking with law enforcement, the jailhouse informant provided information about the crime that was not publicly available, yet consistent with crime scene evidence and Williams' involvement. Other individuals were present when Williams bragged about this murder, and they were disclosed to Williams' team before trial and have been discussed in subsequent proceedings. Gale's personal items were found in the trunk of Williams' car, and Williams sold Ms. Gale's laptop to another individual, Ms. Gale's husband's laptop, to another individual who later identified Williams as the seller. Williams' disrespect for others' well-being and aversion to order have continued in prison, including attacking other inmates and threatening correctional officers. Not a nice guy. I don't care if he's studying the Quran and has become an imam in prison. That's a play that is done by many prisoners. I found Jesus. I become an artist. I write poems, and they're going on about his poem writing. You're in there for 20 years and you're bored. You'll do some of this stuff. It doesn't make you not a psychopath, and it doesn't make you not a killer. So that's all nonsense stuff. So the guy's not innocent. And the Innocence Project needs to stop saying people like him are innocent. And they need to start being honest. Of course, they're not going to, because their whole thing is to say, hit at the government, say that they're all corrupt and they're all, that's their game. And they suck in a lot of people, a lot of well-intentioned people who join up, and they start believing this nonsense. Oh my God, the poor guy's innocent. And they go on. Now, again, I don't mind if you want it. They should call themselves the Innocence Project, or change their name. Call themselves the Technicality Project. Call themselves the We Want the Government to Do Their Job Right Project. We're against the Death Penalty Project. I don't have a problem with that then. You're being open and honest about your motive. But to call yourself the Innocence Project when you don't give a damn whether you're getting guilty people out of prison really pisses me off. And I have looked at case after case after case of people who've gotten out, and I see the hoopla when they get out. Oh my God, he spent 40 years in prison. And then he said, the guy that gets out goes, I don't have any animosity. I'm thinking, you were in prison for 40 years. You don't have any animosity. If I were innocent, I'd have animosity. You better believe it. Well, they don't have animosity because they know they're guilty. And then the media, by the way, if you try to find out information, I'm going to also link this, the appeal here. If you try to find out information, the media is very pro the Innocence Project. And you have to go through, you have to really, really work hard to find the true information about the actual crime and about the evidence that they had. Sometimes it takes me 20 or 30 pages of going through Google or having to come up with different, okay, let me try this and this and that, before I come up with something that tells me what the police had, what the prosecution was. Because the Innocence Project isn't going to tell you, and neither are any of these crappy media sites, and that includes CNN, MSNBC, all of the major ones. They don't care. They just love the story that incenses people. And it ticks me off because I will say this, there are injustices in the system. I don't disagree with that. And it doesn't, to me, when you have a psychopath, I'm going to say the one non-racist person in this issue is probably this guy. He probably wouldn't care if he killed a white woman or a black woman or a Hispanic woman or an Asian woman. He don't care. So he's killing a woman. That's all he cares about. Maybe if it's a guy, he killed that guy too. Maybe he's not even a sexist. Psychopaths don't care about other human beings. And they're often not very political, nor are they particularly interested in how people see things in society because they don't care about anybody else but themselves. So he probably didn't give a crap about her race. So it isn't a racial crime. And if it was a white guy killing a black guy and a white guy killing a black woman in the same circumstance, I'd say it still wasn't a racial crime. Probably just the same thing. White psychopath, black victim. He didn't care. But not everybody, but many people out there are making this a political thing. And the problem is they're not making it an issue that is based on truth. If you want to get rid of the death penalty, bully for you, go for it, work on that. If you want to get rid of injustice in the system and you see some racial imbalance there, fine, do that. But for God's sake, stop saying people like him are innocent. And now we're going to, and we're all feeling sorry for him and sorry for, oh my God, the poor guy. Let me tell you one more thing before I go, because yes, I am incensed. Nobody gives a crap about the victim. They don't. I remember when I saw Dead Man Walking with, Sister Pragian was, being portrayed. And she's in the prison with a serial killer, telling him that she loves him. I want to throw up. I think I actually stood up in the theater and said, this is appalling. And I was so angry because she didn't give a crap about the victims. The victims that serial killer raped and murdered. So again, the serial killer gave those female victims that she was praying with, gave them the death penalty, the worst death penalty ever. They tortured them before they died. And some of them tortured them in the worst way possible. You can't even imagine thinking about what you might have to go through. You don't get a traditional execution. You don't get the needle as they try to make it as nice as they can today. You don't get a bullet in the back of the head. You get raped. You get tortured. Everything that you can imagine that's horrifying happens to you. That's the way you leave life, and you're innocent, 100% innocent. But I don't see these people who are anti the death penalty giving a crap about the victims. If you're going to here's what I want to say. If you're against the death penalty, fine. But I want you to spend 50% of your time helping the families of the victims, doing something for them, trying to stop crimes against innocent people like the victims. Sister Pragian can't stand the woman. I'm not sure she doesn't have a personality disorder. She never cares about the victims. She's all, I'm such a good person. I'm even willing to pray for serial killers. Makes me throw up. This is just really, I find that highly upsetting. And the victims' families get left out. Now, one more thing before I go. They have said, oh, the victim's family was against him getting the death penalty. They're trying to make it look like the victim's family believes he's innocent. They do not. The victim's family knows he's guilty. There's a couple of reasons why they may have somebody, I don't know who in the family spoke out. I haven't seen that information yet. One of them might have said, I know he's guilty. I hate what he did, but I'm against the death penalty in general. Maybe that's just their personal belief. So they want to keep him life in prison. There may be others they're tired of the freaking process. They're tired of hearing about this guy over and over. He goes for an appeal and appeal and appeal and appeal. Maybe they're sick of the whole appeal process. and the Innocence Project. Maybe they're just sick of it all and they're just like, oh, we don't care anymore. We just stop it. Just stop it. So those are my thoughts on this. And I'm sick to death of making him a martyr when he's a piece of garbage. It has nothing to do with his race. It has nothing to do with anything like that. That guy's a piece of garbage, whether he's black or white or whatever he is. He's a psychopathic, criminal piece of garbage who murdered this woman who didn't deserve to die. And if you care more about him than you care about her, you're part of the problem. So those are my thoughts. If you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe and check my playlist for the other cases that I analyze. And I am glad that he got what he deserved because she didn't deserve it. Thank you for being here. Bye.